Hey folks, Todd here. Today we're going to install the UnderCover Fusion on the 2023 and up Ford Super Duty, but it's a similar installation for other applications. The tools I'll be using for this installation are a ratchet with a 1/2-inch socket and a Phillips head screwdriver. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're starting on the driver's side. I'm going to first locate the driver's side rail. Now you'll notice at one end there's a little drain spout that goes towards the front, right behind the cab of the truck. So this is going to go all the way up against the bulkhead. Now you'll notice we've got a little bit of ledge that goes right here. It's actually going to hang on top of our bed cap. So we're going to set it on top of the bed cap, let it hang on that, and then slide it all the way forward. Once it hits the front, we've got a drop-in bed liner. If you have a drop-in bed liner, a lot of times they can kind of wiggle forward a little bit. You want to make sure everything is forced all the way forward where it's all the way up against your bulkhead. Next, what we want to do is we want to locate our front clamp. Now, all of our clamps are going to be exactly the same. I've already got this one spread apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the inside portion of the clamp, the part that's got more of an L shape, I'm going to turn that sideways. And what we're going to do is we're going to insert the clamp into the rail and then rotate it down, and it's going to lock it into the rail. Now let me show you at the end what it's going to look like on the inside profile of that rail. Okay, now this is our clamp. You'll notice that the shape of the clamp matches the shape of the inside of the rail. So what I'm going to do is once we slide that in place and then rock it in, and that's going to allow it to lock into that rail. Then we can slide it forward and backwards in the rail wherever we want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set all 3 clamps in place and then hang it on the bed cap and then lock them in place. Okay, now that I've got the clamp in place, I've got that within a foot of the bulkhead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this portion of the clamp up, get it back behind the bed cap, and I'm going to let it rest into the notch on the other portion of the clamp. And now what I'm going to do is go ahead and tighten that down hand tight first. Once it's hand tight, we're going to go ahead and snug it down with a 1/2-inch socket. Now, as you're snugging that down, you want to make sure that the front stays all the way up against the bulkhead. We're going to bring that to 10 foot-pounds. Go ahead and move back to the second clamp. We're going to do all 3 clamps the exact same way. Okay, now we're going to make sure the center clamp is right towards the center of the bed. To gain access to that clamp, I'm going to go ahead and move my prop rod down. And go ahead and set that in place. Also, as you're placing these clamps, you want to reach up inside the bed cap and make sure you don't have any plastic obstructions hanging down, getting in the way of the clamps. Again, we're going to hand tighten them first. Then we're going to tighten it down with the 1/2-inch. Last clamp tightens down the exact same way. All right, we want to make sure our last clamp is within a foot of the back of the bed. All right, once we've got all clamps attached, go ahead and repeat the same process on the opposite side. All right, now we're going to go ahead and insert our drain plug. Now this is largely preferential, however you set it up. This is our drain cup right here with spout. So what we're going to do is we're first going to fit the hose onto the spout. Now we can route it wherever we want. Now we have a drop-in bed liner. If we wanted this little void area right here, we could pop a hole in there with a drill bit and feed it down through there. Just for simplicity, we're just going to feed it right down into this hole where the tie-down cleat is located. If you've got a spray-in bed liner, you're going to have a grommet covering up a hole right here. You can also go out that hole as well. Okay, now I've got the cover pulled out of the box and set in the bed of the truck. One thing you'll notice here is I've got a strap with a clip that's attached right here. If I fold this back and pull out this panel, this is the part of the panel that goes right behind the cab of the truck. So you'll notice we got a couple of holes up top. What we're going to do is we're going to grab our clip receiver out of our kit and it's going to slide into those holes. Make sure the opening of the clip receiver faces this strap, because that strap is what's going to be able to clip into it when you hold it in place. Now we're going to fold this back. Also in our kit we're going to have some screws. Now those screws have been dipped into a coating. You're going to leave that on there. It kind of helps everything stay in place. We're going to line that up to those two holes. Take a Phillips head screwdriver. Do not use a screw gun for this. And we're just going to screw that in and get it nice and snug. We're going to do both of those holes. We're just going to get it nice and snug. And then we're going to put in our second one. All right, and next what we're going to do is we're going to locate our clamp that holds it to the cover. We'll loosen that up a good bit. When I push this through, you're going to notice we've got a carriage bolt. So you got the square portion of the bolt. What that square is for is to slide into this channel and it holds that carriage bolt in place. So what I'm going to do for right now, I'm just going to kind of bring this over and just get it a little snug right there, because we're going to be setting this on top of the rails of the truck. We're going to do the exact same thing for the clip and also the clamp on the opposite side. Okay, now in your kit, you're also going to have a bulkhead seal. I want to point out this truck has a drop-in bed liner, and we've got part of the liner that comes up here. It's actually even with the top of the bed caps. So we're not going to need to use this. If we did not have a drop-in bed liner, if this portion was not even with the top of the bed caps, we would be using a bulkhead seal, and it goes all the way to the inside of the top edge of that bulkhead, all the way across from one bed cap to the other bed cap. But we've got the drop-in liner, so we're not going to use it. Next, what we're going to do is go ahead and grab our cover, lift it up, and set it up on top of the rails with the cab panel facing towards the cab of the truck. All right, so now I've got the cover sitting on top of the bed of the truck. You might notice this A panel right here is actually on top of the bulkhead. So I'm going to kind of pull it back where it drops in place, and then I'm going to push it forward where it's resting against that bulkhead. I just want it forward for right now so I can adjust it. So next what we're going to do is fold each panel back. As they come back, we want to make sure that they get centered side to side inside the rails. We can also remove any kind of packing material as we go. And when we get to the last panel, we're going to make sure that gets nice and centered as well. All right, next what we're going to do is go ahead and pull the cable and let it sit on top of the rails without engaging into the rails. This way what we can do is close the tailgate and make sure that it sits evenly on top of the tailgate. All right, it's nice and centered, looks good. We're gonna go ahead and lower the tailgate now. Now the cover is completely lined up exactly where we want it, so we want to be very careful not to shift the alignment. So what we're going to do next is very gently fold each panel forward. Just make sure we don't shift it around as we're going. we can go underneath and set the clamps to the rails. Okay, underneath the cover here where it knows we've got that clamp that we installed temporarily. It can still slide back and forth. What we're going to do is we're going to start untwisting that knob. That's going to allow this to drop down a little bit lower. What we want to do is get it low enough to where it can go around our clamp. You'll notice we got a little notch on that clamp that hugs the bottom of the rail. We've also got a notch on the back side of the clamp that goes into this track. We want to make sure both of those are lined up, and then we can go ahead and tighten that knob back up. Then we're just going to get it nice and snug. Repeat the same process on the opposite side. Now, if you want to drive your truck with the bed partially covered just like this right here, you're going to take these buckles and then clip them in place, and then you're going to pull on the strap, get it nice and taut. Do that on both sides before you drive. Now, you can also drive with the cover completely open. What you'll do is you'll pull the cable, rotate the cover forward, then our prop rods are going to pop out and then lock into the ball step. Make sure also you do that on both sides before you drive, but then you're ready to drive at highway speeds. Well, that concludes the installation. If you have any questions, call the experts or visit us online.